I am in the Irving Park area of Chicago, and on this corner where the Potbelly restaurant now stands, stood an apartment building where mass murderer Richard Speck lived with his sister and her family back in the summer of 1966. He once lived in Dallas, Texas, and after committing crimes such as robbery, rape, and assault, and serving jail time, his family thought it would be best if he moved in with his sister Martha in Chicago to start a new life. Martha's husband, Gene, got Speck a job as a merchant seaman. He tried his best at being a seaman, but his bad behavior got the best of him, and he often got in trouble with his shipmates by getting drunk and picking fights. And when he wasn't working, he was committing crimes and even was suspected of committing 2 murders at different locations in Illinois. And finally, his sister has had enough and kicked Speck out of her apartment. And now we're headed towards the Shipyard Inn. And this was a cheap hotel. It was used by mostly vagrants and alcoholics who needed this place to stay. And it was a perfect place to go for Richard Speck because after he got kicked out of his sister's house, he had nowhere to go, and plus he had limited amount of money. And he did earn money as a merchant marine, but he spent it getting drunk and just getting wasted, just causing trouble all over the neighborhood. He was a horrible menace. Well, anyway, now here we are at the area where the Shipyard Inn used to be, and to the right stood a bar where he hung out most of the time, and it was there that he met this woman. She was 53 years old. He kind of befriended her, and he took her to his room at the Shipyard Inn where he raped her and then robbed her of her possessions, especially her revolver that she had, and he would later use that gun for one of the worst massacres in Chicago history that would occur the following night. So on the night of July 13th, 1966, Speck shot heroin for the first time and continued drinking at the Shipyard Inn. And armed with a switchblade and a gun, he left the bar at 10:20 p.m. and walked a mile and a half towards the apartment building where he knew cute young nurses lived. With heroin and alcohol in his system, Speck felt invincible, and he wanted the world to pay for all the injustice that he suffered. Now we're driving to the area where the massacre occurred. And this is in the Chicago's Jeffrey Manor neighborhood. Now these is a series of townhouses, and one of them was functioning as a dormitory for student nurses. They would live in there while they went to the hospitals and catered to the sick. So we're driving towards that area right now. It's kind of getting dark. So. But it's not too far away from the Shipyard Inn. It's walking distance. It would have taken him about 45 minutes. But for me driving, it took about 3 minutes, 4 minutes, somewhere around there. But anyway, here is the area where it all happened, where the massacre happened. Tragedy, right? Let's see, it's getting close. Okay, and it hasn't changed in over 50 years. It's remained the same. Well, here it is after the stop sign, and it's right there. Right there. That's where it all happened. I'm going to pull over here, and I'm going to walk around and explain more. Right there, the first apartment right there is where it all happened. So we're going to tell a story right now. He arrived at the area at around 11 p.m. and he broke into the second floor window of the first townhouse that I showed you. And once in, he knocked on the door of Corazon Amuro, a Filipino nurse. She answered the door thinking it was one of the nurses. Then Speck rushed in and pointed a gun at her and announced that this was a robbery. Now, Speck was calm throughout this ordeal, and it made the nurses calm too. He rounded them all up, tied them all up with the help of Corazon, and he hog-tied all of the 7 nurses in the apartment and corralled them in one of the bedrooms. And one by one, he took a nurse out of the room and to another room where he tortured them and slit their throats. Pam Wilkening was the first to die because he made the mistake of spitting on Speck's face. The next one was Patricia Mutasik, followed by Valencia Pasion. As Speck was about to molest Valencia's dead body, Suzanne Ferris came home and Speck stabbed her to death. He proceeded to torture and kill 3 more, and finally Gloria Davy came home from a date and Speck tortured, raped, and stabbed her. Corazon Amora was the only survivor of the massacre, hid under a bed while Speck wasn't looking. She stayed until the very early morning when Speck, thinking he killed them all, left the apartment. She came out of the second floor window and screamed in terror to alert passers-by, shouting, "Everyone here is dead. I'm the only one. Please help! Please help!" The apartment was a bloody mess with the bodies of the nurses placed at different locations, and Speck left his fingerprints everywhere. Speck managed to stay hidden for 4 days, getting drunk at nearby hotels. Chicago was in a panic, and a sketch of Speck was on TV and in the newspapers all over to help capture him. During this time, he unsuccessfully committed suicide, and that placed him in a hospital where he was identified by a male nurse taking care of him. Since Speck left a witness that knew what he looked like, he was easily captured. Speck was handed the death penalty, but he was later changed to life imprisonment. He became a prison bitch, even he had his breasts enlarged to become more of a woman. Speck was passed around to be sodomized by other prisoners. He died of a heart attack at age 49 in 1991, just a day shy from his 50th birthday. Good riddance, you piece of human garbage.